everybody. Happy Monday night, everybody. So I'm back with my final video of the night. This is going to be reading real life ghost stories. A little bit more from that book. I have Salem here. Let me lower the camera a little bit so you can see him. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, there he is right here. Quite fitting, really, having him here while I'm reading this. So. Okay, we left off at The Bethel Witch, an American Ghost Story by Megan Cooley Peterson. Hope I said that right. Introduction. Afraid of the dark. The Bell family from Adams, Tennessee feared the dark from 1817 to 1821. A poltergeist haunted the family every night. It pulled their hair and overturned furniture. It threw back bed sheets and choked the children. Hang on a second, let me get my glasses. Okay. The ghost nicknamed the Bell Witch. Okay, it's Bell Witch. Even allegedly killed one member of the Bell family. The Bells were, by all accounts, a normal family. John and Lucy married in 1782 and had 9 children. The family attended church and school. They were friendly with their neighbors. So what made this ghost haunt them? And where was there really a ghost at all? Some skeptics believe the Bells invented the ghosts for attention. Other people believe the haunting actually occurred. Fact: poltergeist means noisy ghost in German. The Bell log cabin is the only original structure that still exists from the Bell's farm. The Bell family used it as an outbuilding. Chapter 1. The Trouble Begins. In 1804, John and Lucy Bell and their children moved from North Carolina to Tennessee. They had heard of the area's rich farmland and dense forests. They purchased property on the Red River, which included a house and barns. John cleared some of the land and started farming. Life in Tennessee seemed perfect until the trouble began. The Bell homestead sat on the Red River. The fertile land was perfect for farming. It was the summer of 1817. While working in the field, John stumbled upon a strange animal sitting between 2 rows of corn. It looked like a dog with the head of a rabbit. John raised his gun and shot at the creature, but it ran off. The strange sightings didn't end there. A few days later, John and Lucy's son Drew spotted a large turkey perched on a fence. As Drew approached the bird, he saw that it wasn't a turkey at all. The bird flapped its large wings and took off. Drew had no idea what kind of bird it might be. Betsy, the youngest daughter, went for a walk in the woods near the house around the same time. She saw a girl in a green dress climbing one of the oak trees. She had never seen this girl before and found it strange. A few days later, one of the Bell's enslaved workers reported seeing a large black dog in the road. This dog followed him every night when he went to visit his wife. She was also enslaved and lived with a different family. As soon as the man arrived at his wife's door each night, the dog ran away. Little did the Bells know these odd events were about to take a terrifying turn. Witches and familiars. Is it possible that the Bells' strange animal sightings had something to do with the paranormal? According to folklore, witches had animals called familiars. These animals could assist a witch in her magical workings. A familiar could spy on people, steal from them, and even attack them. Black cats were said to be favored by witches. But other animals could also serve as familiars, such as toads, dogs, and other small animals. Are you my familiar? Chapter 2. Unseen Hands. Members of the Bell family didn't think much of the strange creatures they'd seen around the farm, but then one night strange scratching and banging sounds began outside the house. The family went outside to investigate, and the sound stopped. Each night as the family went to bed, the scratching and banging started, and each time they went outside, the sounds were replaced with silence. The strange sounds soon moved inside the house. Starting in the boys' bedroom, a sound like rats gnawing on the bedposts woke the boys. The two eldest sons, John Jr. and Drew, got up to kill the rats, but as soon as their feet hit the floor, the gnawing stopped. They looked under the beds and found no rats or chew marks. Once the brothers climbed back into bed, the gnawing started again. The boys stayed up half the night searching for the source of the gnawing. Skeptics note, scratching sounds can be caused by tree branches moving in the wind or animals crawling around the house. The gnawing sounds continued for weeks, now in all the bedrooms. The Bells had also heard dogs fighting and the sound of chains being dragged across the floor. Whenever someone lit a candle, the sound ceased. The family examined every room in the house. They moved furniture and pulled up rugs, but no one could find the source of the nightly racket. It steadily grew worse. Along with the gnawing, the Bell family heard lips smacking and the sound of someone choking. The noises stopped every night between 1 and 3 in the morning. John Bell's illness. John Bell began to experience some strange health problems around this time. His tongue would swell up in his mouth. Sometimes he was unable to eat. John said it felt as if a small piece of wood had been lodged sideways in his mouth, pushing at his cheeks. Skeptics note, rodents hide from bright lights and people. If the Bells had rats in their house, it's not unusual that the rats would have hidden from view. A terrifying turn. After about a year, the strange sounds turned into poltergeist-like activity. One night, 6-year-old Richard Williams had just fallen asleep. Suddenly, it felt as though someone was twisting his hair. Unseen hands pulled so hard he was lifted right out of bed. It felt like the top of my head had been taken off, he later recalled. Something also pulled Betsy's hair. Covers were torn off beds while the family slept. Really, Taylor? John and Lucy had no idea what was causing the paranormal activity. They began staying up all night to protect their children. They decided to invite their neighbors, Dr. James Johnson and his wife, to spend the night in their home. They wanted someone outside the family to witness the events. Before bedtime, James read some passages from the Bible. He also prayed that the Bell family would no longer be haunted. Despite the prayer, the activity started up as soon as everyone went to bed. Chairs overturned and covers flew off beds. James tried speaking with the entity. In the name of the Lord, who or what are you? What do you want and why are you here, he asked. But the entity wouldn't answer. James concluded it had to be some kind of spirit. But what did it want with the Bell family? Famous poltergeist. The Enfield poltergeist from England is one of the most famous poltergeist cases. In 1977, Peggy Hodgson and her daughters Janet and Margaret began to experience frightening incidents. The girls' bedroom in this photograph is where most of the events occurred. Furniture moved on its own. The girls flew across the room. Fires started on their own. The ghost even allegedly spoke through 11-year-old Janet. After 18 months, the activity stopped. Chapter 3. The ghost targets Betsy Bell. The ghost soon set its sights on another family member, Betsy. Betsy's cheeks turned red from being slapped by the ghost. Sometimes Betsy couldn't breathe. It felt as if someone was choking her. She also felt as though something was sticking her with sharp pins. Her hair comb would be ripped from her head and tossed to the ground. A woman's laughter could be heard, as if it took joy in Betsy's pain. They assumed the voice belonged to the ghost. Skeptics note, Betsy's hair comb could have simply fallen out. The family was already on edge. They might have blamed the normal, everyday occurrences on the ghost. Betsy's parents were terrified the ghost might try to kill their daughter. They sent her to her friend's house to sleep, hoping the ghost wouldn't follow, but it harassed Betsy no matter where she slept. A presidential ghost hunter. In the summer of 1819, word of the Bell Witch reached future U.S. President Andrew Jackson. According to legend, Jackson came to the farm to investigate for himself. Within a mile of the farm, Jackson's wagon wheels locked up. Jackson blamed the event on the Bell Witch. The spirit answered that it was responsible and let the wagon continue. At the house, one of his men bragged that he could kill the witch. The witch lifted the man and tossed him about the house. This drawing of Betsy Bell was first published in 1894 in an authenticated history of the Bell Witch by M.V. Ingram. Bad medicine. Betsy became desperate to rid herself of the ghost. A doctor came to the house claiming he could cure her. He had mixed up a special medicine for her to drink. Betsy's friend, Thenie Thorne, advised her against it, but she drank it anyway. Within moments of taking the medicine, Betsy vomited. Thenie noticed something strange about what she had thrown up. Upon closer examination, the vomit was full of pins and needles. The ghost laughed as Thenie cleaned up the mess. Everyone agreed the ghost must have dropped the pins and needles into the vomit when no one was looking. No one, it seemed, could cure Betsy of her troubles. Skeptics note, either Betsy or Thenie could have dropped the pins into the mess when the other wasn't looking. Fact, Thenie collected some of the pins and needles and kept them for the rest of her life. Some people suggested that perhaps Betsy was the cause of the strange occurrences. She may have been making the whole thing up for attention. But that theory ended when the ghost began speaking. At first it only whistled when asked a question. Then the ghost began to speak in a low whisper. I am the spirit of a person who was buried in the woods nearby, the ghostly voice said. The grave has been disturbed, my bones disinterred and scattered, and one of my teeth was lost under this house, and I am here looking for that tooth. As the family searched the house for a lost tooth, the ghost cackled with glee. It said it was all a joke to fool John, whom the ghost called Old Jack. The Bell Witch also took an interest in Betsy's boyfriend, Joshua Gardner. The ghost would whisper at Betsy in a hushed voice not to marry Joshua. No one could figure out why the ghost disliked Joshua. Fact: the Bell Witch haunting inspired the horror movie The Blair Witch Project. Similarities to the Salem witch trials. In 1692 and 1693, 19 people were found guilty of witchcraft and hanged in Salem, Massachusetts. Like the Bell Witch haunting, the activity centered around young girls. They spoke in strange voices. Unseen hands pinched and bit them. Their bodies contorted. The girls mainly accused women of using witchcraft against them. One of the men, accused Giles Corey, refused to continue with his trial. He was tortured to death. After the trials, one accuser admitted to making the whole thing up. More than 200 people were accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials. Chapter 4: A Deadly End. The year was 1820, and the Bell family had experienced 3 years of unexplained phenomena. For most of this time, John Bell suffered discomfort in his mouth, but as the years wore on, his pain grew steadily worse. The swelling in his mouth became so severe that he couldn't talk or eat for 10 or 15 hours at a time. The muscles in his face began to contort, and he was often too sick to get out of bed. Oddly, as John's symptoms grew worse, Betsy's improved. On the morning of December 19th, John did not wake up at his usual time. When the family could not wake him, John Jr. went to the medicine cabinet. Inside, he found a strange vial containing dark liquid. No one had ever seen this vial before. "It's useless for you to try to revive old Jack," the ghost said. "I have got him this time. He will never get up from that bed again." The ghostly voice also admitted that it had fed John the medicine. Fact: the Bell Witch allegedly adored Lucy Bell and never bothered her. Taylor, you're up to no good. This image showing the scene of John Bell's death was published in M.V. Ingram's 1894 account of the Bell Witch haunting. Fact: a bit of strange medicine was given to a cat. Within moments of drinking the liquid, the cat supposedly died. The doctor soon arrived at the Bell house. He had never seen the vial before either. John's breath reeked of the medicine. When the doctor tossed the vial into the fire, a bright blue haze shot up the chimney. On December 20th, 1820, John Bell died. His official cause of death: poisoning. A few months after John's death, the Bell Witch told the family it would return in 7 years. As promised, the ghost allegedly returned to the Bell farm in February 1828. According to Richard Williams, the witch started up with her old behavior. She scratched the bedposts and snatched off covers. The Bell Witch claimed she would return in 1935 to visit John Bell's closest relative, but there was no proof she ever did. After about 2 or 3 weeks, the ghost vanished. Chapter 5. Who was the Bell Witch? No one knows for sure who the Bell Witch was at the time of the haunting. Many people blamed a local woman named Kate Batts. They believed she was a witch. Kate owned a farm near the Bells. She and John allegedly had a disagreement when the Bells first moved into the area, and Kate was said to have cursed John Bell. Another theory is that the Bell Witch was a poltergeist. Some paranormal experts believe a poltergeist isn't a ghost at all. These experts say that an individual can cause a ghost-like disturbance using only their minds. This person might be going through physical or emotional stress and not realize they're causing the activity. Fact: after Lucy Bell died, no one ever lived in the Bell house again. It was eventually torn down. Bell Witch. To the north was the farm of John Bell, an early prominent settler from North Carolina. According to legend, his family was harried during the early 19th century by the famous Bell Witch. She kept the household in turmoil, assaulted Bell, and drove off Betsy Bell's suitor. Even Andrew Jackson, who came to investigate, retreated to Nashville after his coach wheels stopped mysteriously. Many visitors to the house saw the furniture crash about them and heard her shriek, sing, and curse. This historic marker in Adams tells us a brief history of the hauntings the Bell family endured. Could someone in or close to the family have faked the haunting? Some suggest a man named Richard Powell did just that. Powell was a teacher who knew the Bell family. He wanted to marry Betsy, but she was already dating Joshua Gardner. Some say he made up the haunting to scare Joshua away. Betsy did eventually marry Powell. More than 200 years after the haunting began, the story of the Bell Witch continues to captivate audiences. We'll never know for sure who or what caused the ghost-like activity that haunted the Bell family, but it can be fun to guess. A faked manuscript. Richard Williams Bell allegedly wrote about his experiences with the witch almost 30 years after they happened. His account was included in an authenticated history of the famous Bell Witch by M.V. Ingram. But Richard Williams' original manuscript has never been found. Some believe Ingram made it up. Fact: the Bell Witch Cave near the Bell Farm site is open to the public. The witch's face is allegedly etched in the stone inside the cave. And that is it for Real Life Ghost Stories. I finished the book tonight, so I'm going to be on the lookout for more scary tales to read to you guys. So until the next video, everybody, I hope I didn't scare you too much. Salem and I. To the next video, which will be tomorrow morning. Get ready with me. Take care and bye for now.